it was legitimate for Israel to defend its citizens inside of Israel. It's not legitimate to occupy Palestinian territory for decades. I'm glad you had a bomb shelter to protect you because the Al-Dos family in Gaza did not. Don't you lecture me about hostages when your government has killed more hostages than it has rescued. That's on you.
We're jumping back into this Mehdi Hasan and Eylon Levy debate, and no, this isn't a rehash of what you saw the last time. It's new clips, so don't click off this video. Don't stay. Now, I am sorry for talking to you like a dog, but let's see what clips I've lined up, and we can jump in with more context after.
I'm going to say it was legitimate for Israel to defend its citizens inside of Israel. It's not legitimate to occupy Palestinian territory for decades on end. And let me answer. Can I actually answer what you came to me for?
If I can rebut,
let me answer John's question. Let me answer
Eylon, you've had about 2 or 3 minutes in a row. Go ahead,
You asked a
please.
very interesting question of Eylon. You pointed out that he keeps saying, notice the sleight of hand. You said that he said, and he said it many times, not just here, Hamas should be destroyed. When you asked him, Israeli military experts in general say it can't be destroyed. Notice what Eylon said? He said, remove from power, quickly move the goalpost there, because he knows that Hamas can't be destroyed by these means. In fact, the former head of Israel's military,
said from
let me
the
finish
very
my point.
beginning.
The former head of Israel's military, who was a member of Netanyahu's war cabinet, he said earlier this year, quote, anyone who says you can destroy Hamas is telling tall tales. So it's not me calling Eylon Levy a liar. It's the former head of the Israeli military.
Mr. Hasan.
And this is something that should be pretty obvious to anyone, to all of his points as well. Israel has a right to defend itself. Defending yourself, however, isn't occupying other people, detaining them without charge, and then torturing and raping them, invading into their land, leveling their cities with bombs. That is not defensive. That is inherently offensive. And you can't destroy Hamas. You can remove it from power by first removing the conditions that created Hamas and gives them power, that being the indiscriminate killing and illegal occupation that leaves Palestinians nowhere to turn to but to rebellion. But doing terror onto Palestine is only going to breed more terror. This is a cycle that Israel has created, thus Israel must take the proper steps to end.
The International Court of Justice says Gaza and the West Bank are occupied. They've been occupied every day since 1967. You did not withdraw in 2005. You blockaded.
I'd like to explain. I'd like to explain what the purpose here is of the legal fiction.
And I've already answered the question, Eylon. I've made the point that even if I was an Israeli general trying to destroy Hamas, killing thousands of innocent people only helps Hamas. Every terrorism expert in the world says you're a recruiting sergeant for extremist groups when you go and kill innocent civilians. Number two, I interviewed Ami Eylon recently, former head of Shin Bet, former Israeli admiral. He said very explicitly, Israel will not be safe until we give Palestinians freedom. This is his words, not my words. And number three, I'm glad you had a bomb shelter to protect you because the Al-Dos family in Gaza did not have a bomb shelter to protect them.
The ICJ not only ruled that they've been illegally occupied every day since 1968, but that this occupation from Israel also constitutes apartheid, which is akin to what happened in South Africa. In 2005, they may have withdrew troops from the ground, but they still had controlled the borders of the land and sea and anything in the air as well, controlled what came in and out, controlled who came in and out, as well as controlling the population registry. If you were registered to be a citizen in Palestine, you registered with Israel, not with Palestine. If in your state, you went to register to be a citizen and instead had to register with Russia, would you feel like you were part of America or Russia? And I love how Mehdi ends here because Israel loves to act like the victim despite having bomb shelters, having the Iron Dome, having unconditional American support at this point, while they carry out mass destruction and bombings of innocent civilians and children who have absolutely nowhere they can go.
Don't you lecture me about hostages when your government has killed more hostages than it has rescued. That's on you. That's on you. And
That is on Hamas.
That's for this.
That is on Hamas.
Let me answer this.
Hamas
Let me answer this.
is
All right.
I need to finish this point.
I'm going to let you finish this point, and then we're moving on.
I will happily support this pin because I support the release of all the hostages and let me finish. And I support the release of thousands of Palestinian detainees being raped and tortured and children. Do you support that? Let's wear it together. Do you support the release? Do you support the release of Palestinians?
I do not support,
do you support
the release
of
terrorists.
Of Palestinian children? Do you support the release of Palestinian children being
Mr.
tortured?
Hassan, anyone who is...
Let's get some space here.
He can't answer the question.
Mr. Hassan, he won't get on the hostage pin.
I support the release of all innocent people.
Mehdi?
He doesn't.
Anyone who wants to pretend that bombing places that hostages are is a real plan to safely release the hostages has lost their mind. The biggest release of hostages we've seen in this entire conflict was after there was a ceasefire deal. Israel's blind carpet bombing campaign is exactly why they've killed more hostages than they've saved. And their refusal to do a ceasefire to save more, which was, again, the best way that they've saved hostages this entire conflict, shows what their true motive is and how much they really care about the hostages, which is why the hostage families are even calling for a ceasefire and for Netanyahu to stop. And they love to focus on their hostages, and our media does as well, without a single mention of the Palestinian hostages, the thousands of them that they have also, children included, who are being tortured, raped, and executed in Israeli prisons where they are held without charge, often never charged, and if they're lucky, get let go after horrendous torture. But this man can't even condemn that, seemingly. I mean, he can't condemn anything that Israel does, yet they expect you to off the rip condemn Hamas and condemn Hamas every time you speak about Palestine, or else you're a terrorist or terrorist sympathizer. I think it's clear to any humane person the bias here and the problem with the disease that's known as Zionism.